management company to a bank and listed his biotech company on the ASX? Well, the answer's quite a lot. Tom Williams is the real deal, and he's going to walk you through the one-page battle plan. It's a tool that he uses and he recommends that you use to be able to organize your thinking in times of crisis. He lectures both Melbourne and Monash University for both scale-up and startups to be able to navigate challenging times. When I reached out for people to talk to this crisis, he came back and said, I've probably got a thing or two I could share. So I really look forward to your thoughts and comments on Tom Williams' one-page battle plan. So you're about to sit in on a session from one of our crisis reinvention team, but let me give you some quick context. When COVID started to seriously impact businesses, we mobilized experts from within the Dent community to be able to help business leaders like yourself navigate the difficult decisions across a variety of topics, including how to access finance and grants, to cash management, to human resource law, to marketing and sales strategies, to cool tools and tech that you can use from home, through to high stakes leadership, health, wellness, stress management, not just for yourself, but for your team, and look, a whole lot more. For the full schedule, with more being added every week, visit dent.global/reinvent, and we hope you find it a useful resource. All right, let's do this.
In a wartime setting, we need to have wartime thinking. And make no mistake, this is a war. It's a battle against an invading horde of coronavirus with all the health risks that brings. It's a battle against the rapidly changing economic and business conditions and government restrictions that change almost daily. And it's a battle against the frailties of the human mind. And as humans, we've lived through an era where the quality and ease of our living has been something akin to the Roman emperors, as opposed to what our parents or grandparents went through in the 1930s depression or the Second World War. So all of those things mean that we need to think about the current situation in a rather different way in a wartime setting. So what I'd like to do today is go through how to develop a business battle plan to build a bridge over the viral valley. And I've sketched out a canvas here, if you like, and we're going to fill it out with what I think are 9 essential components of building that bridge. So let's call it a one-page business battle plan. And the first component is mindset. Now, you've probably noticed that half the country's been in denial and half the country's been in panic. And there are stages that you go through in a crisis, from being unaware, and you'll be going through it as well as your employees and your customers and the community. You go from being unaware, probably into denial for a while, then into panic. Oh my God, this is really happening. Then summoning up the courage to do something about it, and planning and building the resources and the gumption to get started. And there might be some subcomponents along there where your emotions go on a roller coaster. People become depressed, they become angry. Why is this happening to me? And you go through that roller coaster, and then finally summoning up the courage, even if you have still quite a lot of fear, in order to take action. But beyond that, which is where we should be aiming as business leaders to get ourselves and hopefully our team to is a stage of just being present with the new reality and acting appropriately with that reality. If you watch a good martial artist, they don't really appear to be acting courageously while being terribly scared. They've gone past that stage to just being in a dance, if you like, with the present situation and doing what's necessary and appropriate in that instant. So that's where we want. That's where we want to head. But what are the elements that we need in a wartime mindset setting once we have gone through those stages, or as we're going through those stages? Well, they call it the fog of war. We have to get used to making decisions in a time of great uncertainty where we just don't know all the facts and we don't have on hand all of the normal factors that we would want to have to make a decision. Things are changing so rapidly and there are so many unknowns, and yet it's absolutely vital that we act to protect our business as best as we can and to seize new opportunities that might be coming up. The famous Second World War American General George Patton, who incidentally got my father out of a German prison of war camp, said it's better to take a good plan and violently put it into action right now than wait to put a perfect plan into action next week. There really are opportunities that come up and you need to just seize them at the time. On the other hand, you need to think strategically about what are your strengths and resources and where are you best going to spend your time, your precious time and energy and focus during these days. So that's basically the mindset that you need. You need to be strategic, but at the same time tactically agile, ready to adapt and act somewhat audaciously. Right in the center of this, you need to consider your mission. And I'm going to call this building a bridge across the viral valley. I should briefly introduce myself. Tom Williams. I started as a scientist. I became an entrepreneur. I've been founder or co-founder of 5 different companies, sold one and floated another on the stock exchange. I lecture at Melbourne University and I coach scale-up entrepreneurs. I've collected rather a lot of grey hair, slightly prematurely, taking risks, some of which worked and some of which didn't work. And all of that has led me to think carefully, particularly for the clients that I coach, about how to understand risk. And generally speaking, one of the traps that we fall into is that we consider that there's only one type of risk, when really there are nearly always 2 types of risk. There's the risk of what happens if we do something and it doesn't work. But there's also the risk of the lost opportunity if we don't act and it had worked. So always try and think about those 2 types of risk. But coming back to mission, what do I mean by the mission? Well, you have to, in a wartime setting, have a very clear objective about what you're actually going to achieve. So I've summed it up by saying, build a bridge for your business to get to the other side, to get across the viral valley. So what are the pillars that you're going to need to consider to put that bridge in place? The foundations, if you like, of your bridge. Well, they're products and services. Are you going to need to change your products and services? Your customer niche. Perhaps you might move to a different customer niche. Your value proposition, is that going to change? Your delivery, are you going to deliver everything online or through some other means? Partnerships, there are probably opportunities, maybe even with people who you consider to be competitors, to actually come together and benefit from a partnership. And payments, or your financial transactions. Are you going to change the way you get paid, the way you pay others? There may be other pillars to your bridge, but think clearly about exactly what it is that you want to create and get you across the valley, and then support the continuing growth and expansion of your business on the other side, because we will get to the other side. Whether that's in 6 months or 18 months, I think one thing we can be sure of is that the human race is good at responding to a challenge, and we will rise up. We might go through some very tough times, but we will rise up and overcome this with the technology and resources that we have, and the human ability to adapt to circumstances. So that's the mission. The next square in this canvas I call external reality. And here, again, given the uncertainty of the times, I think it's very useful to think of different scenarios. You know, what's the worst case scenario? If you have to totally shut down and hibernate for a while, and if the health risks continue to escalate. What's the optimistic case? If we can get on top of things and your business continues and life returns to normal in a reasonable time. And what's your best guess case with some other factors? It's good to map out some different scenarios and see ahead of time what it is that you might do as a business to plan for those different scenarios. Unfortunately, there were models of what happens with a viral pandemic going around, but we didn't learn very much from them. The Southeast Asians who had prior experience with the SARS epidemic had learned from that, and so they jumped all over the COVID virus as soon as it came out. We have had to learn on a slightly slower, more painful path, a more trial and error path, but hopefully we are now really getting our act together, and we'll see some improvements in the coming months. But I think from your business point of view, map out some different possibilities and think ahead of time what you would have to do if certain things happened. Okay, that's the external reality. Then, of course, there's the internal reality. And here I'm talking about what's going on inside your business. Clearly, financials in this time are incredibly vital, to be right on top of your cash flow, to understand your debtors cycle, whether that is getting blown out as people struggle to pay you. Maybe you have to negotiate an extension of terms in your payment cycle. Maybe you even have to prioritize who you're going to pay. Maybe you have to look for a loan, take advantage of either banks or governments, grants, of course, but also some suspension of interest mortgage payments, and the like. But as well as financials, it's like, take a hard look at the reality of other aspects of your business. What resources have you got? What state are your people then? We'll come to teams a bit more in a minute. What are your core capabilities and your strengths relative to the current situation that you can lean on and that you can take advantage of? So consider those internal realities. Then we come to customer needs. You've been chugging along probably in your business, fully understanding what your customer needs are and supplying great products and services for those. But all of a sudden, your customer needs might change. I have one client who realised with a lot of their corporate customers, all of a sudden they needed masks and hand sanitizer. So she was able to look around the world and within Australia and source that for her corporate clients. So there are other changes and things that no doubt you've noticed that you can possibly take advantage of. How are your relationships? You need to get closer than ever to your customers to understand what's going on for them, their pain, make it clear that you're empathizing with it, that you're in a partnership with them to get them through this situation as best you can. The best way to ensure the ongoing viability of your business is to solve your customers' problems and to understand the changing nature of those problems and to show that you care. As well as that, take notice of all the changing trends and the changing situations. Of course, obviously, people are working from home now. People are looking for technology to stay together and do things in a totally different way. So draw all of those into account in order to find new ways of solving your customers' needs. Then there are going to be new market opportunities. Here I'm talking about looking at your existing products, services, technology, core capabilities, and seeing what else you could do with it, maybe in a different way, maybe looking for a different niche of customers. You might have a digital advertising agency that has been serving large companies, possibly pubs, and all of a sudden the pubs have shut. So what can you do? Well, there are lots of small entrepreneurs working from home who don't have the expertise they could use in digital marketing, advertising, and all of that area. And as an agent used to dealing with large corporates, you can turn your capabilities to that smaller niche. And there are lots of other examples that we could go into where you can take your existing abilities and look for new avenues to use them. Then, of course, a very critical area is your team. They're going to be going through an emotional roller coaster, worried about the future of their jobs, worried about their family's health, worried about their career path, and lots of other things besides. So you need to take a leadership role, show them that you have a vision for the future, and get them aligned with where you're going by enrolling them into the benefits of that vision, not just for the company, but for the greater community and for their future growth and development themselves. If you get that alignment in these tough times, you can get an amazing increase in the engagement and commitment of your team. And strangely enough, in tough times, all of a sudden the productivity and the communication and the engagement levels can really go up. And speaking of communication is going to have to be more frequent, and it's going to have to be at a deeper level, much deeper level than normal. By that I mean taking account of people's personal lives and feelings, and not just the business. And there's been plenty of interesting articles and suggestions online already about how to keep that up when everybody's working, or when a lot of people are working remotely, as well as having Zoom video conferences for meetings, share a drink on a Friday afternoon together over Zoom and have a chat and a laugh, play a game, tell stories, and use it in other ways. I'm sure you're already doing that and probably surprised at how effective it can be. As the leader, you have to be the chief morale officer, if you like. Even though you probably are anxious and feeling a bit down and worried yourself, you still have to be able to paint a realistic, positive future. Be straight, tell people the reality of the problems, but have that positive long-term future of what's over the other side of the bridge and the benefit of building the bridge together always in mind. Coming down to the bottom of the page here, there's space for guiding values and principles. Don't forget your core values, both business and personal, and hopefully those two sets of values are pretty much aligned anyway. And how you want to operate in these tough times. As the Governor of New York said, it's all very well for people to behave nicely with each other when things are going well, but you find out who you can trust and who you want to work with when times are tough. So stick to the values and principles that you wish to retain for your business, and think about how you want those to build the future of your business on the other side of the bridge. So there's always, if you like, a guiding light there for people to follow. That will give them not only a sense of the value of continuing to work, not only alignment and more teamwork, a sense of purpose, but it brings clarity. And when you have to make a decision, if you understand your values and you understand the core principles, then you don't have a problem making a decision, even in a hurry. And then finally, down here, consider your bridging strategies and priorities. What strategies are you going to use in order to achieve your goals, your mission, and what are the priorities? Now, in a normal setting where you understand your business model, your business plan, you've got your customers satisfied with your products and services, the focus is generally on execution. In this setting, you need to be kind of ambidextrous. On the one hand, you need to, once you have settled on a direction, you do need to focus laser-like on charging through and executing that plan. But on the other hand, you need to send out scouts or mentally scout and explore what else is possible. And that brings us back to innovation and the entrepreneurial mindset. So you've got to be both an innovative entrepreneur and an industrial executioner. Once you've got the plan in place, don't hesitate to push to execute that plan with laser-like focus. That's the way you get through it. Now, what you might need to think about in order to be able to do those two slightly opposing things, if you don't have the luxury of having enough people to say to a small group or an individual, okay, you're in charge of thinking about new opportunities and what else we could do and exploring new possibilities. If you don't have that luxury and everyone else is just focused on executing the current plan, what you might want to do is allocate a certain period of time, maybe a weekend brainstorming session, have a virtual conference with a couple of beers, flip charts, and you brainstorm possibilities for new opportunities. What else could you do with your technology, your core capabilities to find new business and survive and get to the other side and maybe build an even bigger business on the other side of the bridge? So those are the core components of what I call the one-page business battle plan. And I hope that was useful and interesting to you, and I hope it will help you build your business so that it survives and thrives on the other side of this crisis. Now, if you'd like a copy of that plan with a couple of notes, write to me, Tom Williams, at tw@innovationconsult.com.au, and just put one-page battle plan in the subject line. So good luck, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
For more expert talks, just visit dent.global/reinvent, because we believe that the decisions that you make now matter more than ever. We started Dent 10 years ago in the middle of the GFC in London, and we shared the key person of influence methodology as a tool to be able to help businesses thrive despite the chaos. Today, it's a best-selling book, and over 3,000 businesses use the methodology like an operating system for driving performance. And we've learned that regardless of economic conditions, that your primary focus as a founder should be showing up as the go-to brand, the key person of influence in your industry. More important than systems or social media, more important than Facebook videos or launching a website, the goal of showing up as the key person of influence in your industry should be the organizing force. It should be the primary objective that helps align all your other decision making. Because as your influence and reach expands, it becomes easier and cheaper to attract clients, team, media, even investors. When times are tough, it's the key people of influence that become even more valuable and even more in demand. And if you've been in business for a while, you're probably a lot closer than you think. So every week that this COVID-19 thing continues, I'm going to be hosting a weekly talk to be able to help business leaders like yourself recalibrate their focus so they can make the most of the times that we're in. If you're interested in jumping on a Zoom and saying hi with me, you can find the link to register for my sessions as well as all of the crisis response team sessions at dent.global/reinvent. If you found this useful, let us know. My name's Glenn Carlson, and please be brave, have fun. Let's go make a dent in the universe.